Alex Jones has fully turned his view on Trump and is pro-DeSantis. He is a DeSantis man now. So why is this interesting to me? We'll watch a clip of him explain this in a second, but I think Alex Jones represents the far, kind of conspiracy theorist right, which is a very powerful portion and more prominent portion than we'd probably like to admit of our country right now. And so seeing him move on these issues is an indication of where that part of the country is going as well. And I think we are seeing a lot of people who are very radical and they got inspired and brought into politics by Trump wanting somebody else, and a little sick of Trump on certain issues. He brings up the vaccine issue, which I do think turned some people off to Trump, which is funny because, in my mind, that's one of the rare good things that Trump did was investing in the vaccine, but he made some enemies within his own base because of that. And then also he is seen now as just so politically damaged, and you have all of the Jan 6 stuff as well as the raid that just happened by the FBI, not to mention the business investigations going on and all of these things, all the investigations into the overturning of the 2020 election, of course. And so I think people want someone who's less damaged, who they see as more powerful, who could be more effective, but is still just as radical. So right now the person is Ron DeSantis, and that's who Alex Jones gets behind in this clip.
Pig-headedly support him.
Right now he's referring to how he used to support Trump
a few years ago, even though I disagreed with his warp speed, because I thought that we had to keep him in office because of the nightmare scenario if Hillary...
Now, to be clear, he said, I supported him even though I disagree with his warp speed. It's always a funny moment when you have to put a thought within the context of their ideology. Just to be clear, he's saying that, he's one of the people who thought there's all sorts of things in the vaccine, bots or something. I don't know his particular conspiracy, but he definitely thought they were trying to inject us with something crazy that was going to be more than just a vaccine, So he's saying, I was willing to support someone who I knew was investing in developing a vaccine that was meant to control all humans, but I still liked them because of other stuff. It's such a weird thing. Of course, understanding that's not what the vaccine was makes you willing to give Trump credit for it. But him being willing to oversee it or look past it with the views he has is kind of weird.
Hillary or Biden got in back before they were officially running. But that said, I am supporting DeSantis. DeSantis is just gone from being awesome to being unbelievably good. And I don't just watch a man's actions, as Christ said, judge a tree by its fruits. I can also look in his eyes on HD video, and I see the real sincerity.
He sees the real sincerity in Ron DeSantis. I will say, if you are a moderate Republican, and for some reason at this point you still think that Ron DeSantis is maybe somewhat more reasonable just because he, talks more like a politician compared to Trump, I would encourage you to think about if you feel comfortable being someone who supports the same guy who Alex Jones thinks is incredible. It's a warning sign. If Alex Jones thinks Trump isn't radical enough and he likes DeSantis a lot, thinking he's incredible, I would just think about that if you're a moderate Republican. Because I've heard some moderate Republicans who were anti-Trump go, oh, but DeSantis seems like he could be okay. And I'm like, no, what? Oh, we're going to get another radical person in there. So irritating. But first I want to say, why is anyone still listening to Alex Jones? I don't know. He went on stand and admitted to spreading lies for years, and now understanding that all the stuff he said about Sandy Hook wasn't true, or not all the stuff, but all of the conspiracy type stuff he said about Sandy Hook was not true, that Sandy Hook actually happened. When you see that as an audience member of Alex Jones, does that not make you question, oh my gosh, if for years he was lying so blatantly about something that did so much damage to these families that they were able to get a lot of money out of Alex Jones, rightfully so, what else could he be not, journalistically rigid about, we'll say? And no, they don't question that. He still has a humongous audience, and they are coming to him for guidance on who to support. And right now that's DeSantis. Why they're coming to him for guidance, I have no clue. It makes no sense to me. After everything we've seen with his lawsuit. And then the second part is just, I do think this is kind of foreshadowing. Where the most radical part of the right goes lately seems to be where the rest of it follows. That Trump's going to be in the rearview mirror pretty soon, which in a way is good, right? We're excited to say bye-bye to Trump as far as politics goes. But if they really effectively unify behind DeSantis, it's going to put us in a tough situation in 2024. Because I do think DeSantis could put up a pretty good campaign against a Democrat, especially considering the lack of kind of a Democratic star that we have right now. So that's a scary thought as well. My most ideal thought is Trump tries to run and takes some of that percentage of the base and then clashes with DeSantis a lot in the primaries and makes a bunch of Republican voters not passionate to vote for whoever ends up getting the nomination, and helps the Democrats win. But maybe they'll all unite behind DeSantis before then. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, it's going to be bad or worse. And you can tell me which one is which.